B'Shem Hashem Na'aseh V'Natzliach. We're recording Leilul Nishmat, my father, Shlomo Chaim ben David, Hareini Kaparat Mishkavor, Ruach Hashem Tenechenu V'Gan Eden. This topic amongst my students was they're very excited. We want to talk about the concept of marriage. Is there a specific precedence to marry the daughter of a rabbi or a great Torah scholar? Which families should you run after and seek their hand in marriage? So we're just going to rush right into it, and also we want to say which characteristics, according to the Torah and the words of a Chazal, are some things that are lofty and we should run after them, and people that possess those characteristics are good soulmates, and which things are red flags that if the person, when you're dating them or when you do research, has these attributes, you should run away, like running away from poison and fire. So let's move into it. It's a fascinating Gemara. I really beg all of you to go take a look at it. The Gemara says very clearly that the Pesachim, page 49, side 2, Memtet Amud Bet, it says, Tanu Rabbanan, Le'olam yimkor adam kol ma sheyesh lo, v'yiseh bat talmid chacham. You should always be vigilant to sell everything you own in order to marry the daughter of a Torah scholar. Now let's say you don't have access to one, or they won't give your hand in one, you get rejected, which sometimes unfortunately happens. So who should you go after in the second category? You should go after the daughters of the Gedolei Hador. This doesn't literally mean the daughter of Rav Chaim Kayanevsky or the Gadol Hador. What it means here in this context, Rashi says, is that you should go marry the daughter of Sadiqim and people that do great deeds. They're very generous. For example, philanthropists, they give a lot of charity, or they, volunteer and do tremendous deeds of mitzvah. If you can't find one of those, then you should go marry the daughter of the president of the synagogue. And I think probably the reason here is that you see he's a person that's willing to take leadership, and he's selfless rather than selfish. If you can't find those, go marry the daughter of the Gabei Tzedakah, right? Because it's a tremendous, tremendous mitzvah. Some Jews trying to collect money from them is pulling teeth. So somebody that has the patience to actually go ahead and collect funds for the poor and the synagogue and the yeshivot, this is very lofty and wonderful, and those come in next, as in these levels of who you should run after. And if you can't find one of those, then you should go marry the daughter of people that teach Torah to young kids, like people that teach the kids the Aleph Bet, Melamdei Tinakot. But definitely the Gemara is very adamant that you should not marry the daughter of an ignoramus Jew, because doing so is disgusting and despicable. And the Gemara here goes on a whole tangent of how shameful and terrible it is to be somebody that's Am Haaretz, somebody that's a ignoramus, ignorant Jew. So it's very interesting, moving right into it, that this halacha is not something theoretical. The Rambam, if you look in Hilchot Isurei Biyah, is very clear. Look at the Ein Mishpat. The Rambam says that this is actually Jewish law. Not like some parts of the Talmud, which is just, theoretical, but this is actually something that we should pursue in a very practical manner. On the Shulchan Aruch, right in the beginning of Even HaEzer, the section of halacha that talks about all the laws between men and women, it also, word for word, says that you should go ahead and marry the daughter, sell everything, make any sacrifice, as long as you should marry the daughter of a Torah scholar. Now, it's very important to know, going back to the Gemara, why is it so important? Because the Gemara says, if God forbid you die, if your wife is an ignorant Jew, then your children, which is, right, the children have a power, even if the father is in hell, God forbid, through saying Kaddish and learning Mishnah and Torah, to elevate the soul. But if your kids are totally non-observant and not with it, so it's very detrimental to your future in both this world and the next world. So the greatness of the Torah, the daughter of the Torah scholar, is that since her father is a Torah scholar, she knows all the ins and outs and how important and monumental and grand and fundamental it is to learn Torah. So even if you, God forbid, are not in the world, she would raise your children in the path of Torah and make sure that they are observant and upstanding and God-fearing Jews. Now, there's another very important Gemara that has to do with this. If you look in the Gemara, Ketubot, Daf Kuf Yud Aleph, page 111, 111, again, the Gemara there says that it's a tremendous mitzvah. The Rambam actually paskins this mitzvah. If you look in the Rambam, it's the 6th mitzvah. This is, when I learned this Gemara many years ago, I was shocked. It's one of the 613 commandments to be attached to God. Now, how practically do you do this? The Gemara in Ketubot says. The Gemara says, but God is like fire. How could you attach yourself to fire? So the Gemara says, if you, as much as possible, are in contact with Torah scholars and righteous people, through them you attach yourself to God, right? So the Gemara says that, again, the Gemara here says the same idea, that if you have your daughter marry a Talmid Chacham, or you marry the daughter of a Talmid Chacham, and you invite the Talmid Chacham into your house, you be his host, right? And you do business with him. So, just like it says, "Ein lo lahakadosh baruch hu be'olamo ela daled amot shel halacha bilvad." The Gemara says now that the temple is destroyed, where is the Shechina? In the 4 amot, in the 4 cubic feet of halacha. So since the Talmid Chacham is an expert in Jewish law, that's where the Shechina is. So some people think, the people that were in the Litvish yeshivas, that this idea of constantly being around Chachamim and Tzaddikim is a Hasidish thing. No, it's one of the 613 commandments, and it's such an important commandment that the Rambam brings it in the top 10 commandments. Right? He brings it as this number 6. So again, we have 2 Gemaras that are saying the same idea. That is a tremendous mitzvah to marry the daughter of righteous Torah scholars, because that way you're connecting to God. So, Rav Ovadia Yosef, I just want to bring out a very, very important thing. The chief rabbi of Jerusalem, which I had the honor of being with on many occasions, he's my sister's neighbor, Rav Moshe Sternbach, in Sha'alot Teshuvot V'Hanhagot, Chelek Gimel, volume 3, Siman Shin Pei Tet, brings a beautiful thing from the Chazon Ish. The Chazon Ish says, you have to know, like let's say 50 years ago, there was very few, the Torah after the Holocaust, 50, 60, 70 years ago, was very weak. There wasn't many daughters of Talmidei Chachamim per se. But the Chazon Ish says a beautiful thing. He says any girl that went to Beis Yaakov, and not only that she went to Beis Yaakov and it went in one ear, got out the other, but she's actually very observant herself, can be considered what? The daughter of a Talmid Chacham. And he brings over there that Rav Dessler, the great Jewish thinker, the Mashkiach Apanovich, also would say that the same way that we look at a boy to be a Ben Torah, right? A person that is always acting like a yeshiva man and somebody that is part of the Torah world. There's an idea, Rav Dessler says, of a Bat Torah. A girl that's really so modest and knowledgeable in halacha, and as long as she meets that criterion, the Chazon Ish says that we can consider her the daughter of a Talmid Chacham. Why? Because what does the Gemara say? Why is the daughter of a Talmid Chacham so important? Because she's going to raise your children in the right way. So this girl, obviously, if she's so observant and she went many years to seminary and to Beis Yaakov, if God forbid you're not in the world, she would also continue to educate and raise your kids in the path of Torah and fear of God. So, parenthetically, we're going to do a review at the end of the class, but I just wanted to bring out that the Chazon Ish also says something very important for the men. He says the most red flag that you should be careful on the lookout is a woman that's stubborn. Because a woman that, God forbid, is stubborn, it's going to be a very, very difficult life. Some people, it's either my way or the highway. And a woman that's tough like that and stubborn, the Chazon Ish says that this is something that is very, very dangerous and not recommended to go near anybody like that. A hard-headed person. Now, on this topic, Rav Ovadia Yosef, to clear up any misconception, in volume 4 of SHIDUCH BAT, chapter 61, Samech Aleph, he says that you should know. The great Ramah that wrote the commentary on the Shulchan Aruch says that there's no such thing as the laws of Talmid Chacham nowadays. Because if you know, there's it is a great, great honor and privilege which comes with many fringe benefits being a Torah scholar. Like in the time of the Talmud, you wouldn't have to pay the community tax, and they would be put up on a pedestal and get very special privileges. The Ramah says that in monetary law, that doesn't exist. So Rav Ovadia brings from the great Rav Chaim Yosef David Azulai that is not the case for this halacha. You understand? If in the time of, if the Ramah is saying that for monetary laws, like for example, somebody that embarrasses him, or he could take away lutra, shel zahav, but the Chidah brings שאפילו לדעת האמורים שאין דין תלמיד חכם בזמן הזה מכל מקום לעניין שישא בעלתי מקום גם זה ואף על פי שתלמיד חכם בזמננו דומים לשנים גם בעלתנו מן דורשים. So the Chidah says, don't think for a second and let that Ramah mislead you that there's no such thing as a Talmid Chacham nowadays. Yes, this law that you should sell everything and go marry the daughter of a Talmid Chacham applies nowadays. The scholars now are not as great as they used to be. Also, the regular people are not as righteous as they used to be. And the second idea that the Rav Ovadia brings is, what's the definition of an ignoramus, right? We learned the Gemara that it says you should go after the gabbis and the rabbis and the presidents of the shul and the tzaddikim, gedolei hador, but stay away. It's disgusting and despicable to stay away from the Am Haaretz. So the Rav Ovadia brings here from the Bet Yosef that what's the different definition of a Am Haaretz? The definition of Am Haaretz is she'enan bekiim b'diktukei mitzvot. They don't know the minute details. They know that there's a concept of doing mezuzah, but they don't know the exact details of the halachot, and they're not careful in it. ואפילו אינם עושים עבירות להכעיס, אלא לתאבון, מכל מקום הם שקר ושקר. And God forbid they would never do a sin to make God angry, but if they would become very lustful for a certain McDonald's burger, sometimes, it could be that they would let into their Yetzer Hara. But something very important that a lot of people don't know is the Am Haaretz is under the umbrella of orthodoxy, right? He's an observant Jew. He just doesn't care to go learn the details of the Torah. And that is a shameful thing in the Gemara, that you shouldn't go after people like that. And the third thing Rav Ovadia brings that really we have to understand is that there's really three levels. There's the level of people that are very righteous, people that teach Torah to kids, right? Then there's the level of the Am Haaretz, but there's a middle level, regular people, that they're not necessarily extraordinarily special Jews. They're the average Joe Schmo, they're all observant. And I would venture to say that in this category, there could even be Am Haaretz, which is not talking. This is my personal opinion. I may be wrong, but I think this is very true from the bottom of my heart. There could be two species and categories of an ignorant Jew. In Pirkei Avot, it says, Lo Am Haaretz Chasid. Am Haaretz cannot be a pious Jew that goes above and beyond his call of duty. But it's mashma from there, if you look in the Mefarshim, he can be what? A Sadiq. Because if he has fear of heaven, then he will keep everything that he knows appropriately. And whatever he doesn't know, it's not because he doesn't want to know it, but he doesn't have the time or the patience to go and learn the details. So I came across, very luckily, a wonderful, wonderful sefer. It's the Netta Gavriel, one of the great Hasidic poskim and writers, and he goes to explain this whole halacha. He brings a sefer called Sefer Hitararut HaTeshuvah. The Sefer Hitararut HaTeshuvah asks a very fundamental question. If you were here for our last week's shiur, this has a direct relationship to that. He asks, how could the Gemara say you should sell everything, become literally penniless, and the Rambam holds this way, in order, sacrifice everything and anything to marry the daughter of a Torah scholar, right? It's very crystal clear. It says, Yimkor kol ma sheyishlo. But the question is, didn't we learn in Gemara Ketubot that what? Hamebazbez al yebazbez yoter michomesh. You know what that means, Elliot? It means that there's a law that the rabbis decreed in the city of Usha that you should never give charity more than 20%. So these two laws are contradicting. Here it says give everything to get the hand of the Torah scholar's daughter, but the Gemara says you're not allowed to give more than 20% of your net income to charity. So it's because of this that this, I don't know who the author is, I must confess, but this book, Hitorarut HaTeshuvah, says that halachically this Gemara is wrong. It's not to be taken literal. This, the Gemara says, to sell everything is just the exaggeration. Halachically, the maximum you should spend to convince the family of this Torah scholar to give their daughter to you as a bride is what? 20% of your net income. And he explains why, because again, like we mentioned, the Gemara in Ketubot, why is it such a big mitzvah to marry the daughter of a Talmid Chacham? Because through marrying into the family of the Torah scholar, you connect yourself to God, which is the 6th commandment of the Torah. And just like for charity, you don't need to give more than 20%, for this mitzvah also, you don't need to give what? More than 20%. But there's a big argument on this. The Nata Gavriel and Rav Moshe Sternbach, in his 3rd volume of Shalot Teshuvot V'Hanagot, Siman Shin Tzadik Aleph, they vehemently argue on this. They say this Gemara is to be taken literally. It is such a wonderful thing to marry the Torah scholar that you could even give 50% of your assets, 80% of your assets, make all sacrifices to marry her. Now the Netta Gavriel explains very beautifully, it's exactly related to what I talked about last week, the laws of charity. The Netta Gavriel is so beautiful. He says that you're not allowed to give more than 20% is only to charity. But we learned last week that for supporting Torah, you're allowed to give more than 20%, because we learn in the Midrash that Rabbi Tarfon gave Rabbi Akiva a ton of money. And Chafetz Chaim and Rabbi Yaakov Hillel told me, the Chafetz Chaim says this is the halacha. The Shita Mekubetzet brings that for Torah, there's no limit to how much of your assets you could give. That 20% law is only for what? Giving money to poor people. So he says that's the same thing here. By you marrying the daughter of a Talmid Chacham, Elliot, what are you guaranteeing? That your children also become Torah scholars, right? And I also want to bring something, because I'm a big fan of history. We have to understand that the average life expectancy in the olden days was what? A lot of people would unfortunately pass away very young. So it was a matter of life and death, the matter of your whole legacy, of your children, gonna stay in the path of Torah or not. So therefore, I forgot to mention this last week, but another proof the Chafetz Chaim brings that there's no such thing as a limit of 20% for Torah is, what do you think it is? It's because we know that the two children of Yaakov, Yisachar and Zevulun, made a very interesting agreement that the Shulchan Aruch holds of. And what is that? Zevulun was a great merchant, like Trader Joe's. He was a great trader. He had boats and he would go to China like import-export. And he made a deal with his brother, the other son of Yaakov, Jacob, that you devote your entire life to become a professor, an expert in Torah, and I'll give 50% of my net income to you. We'll go 50-50, and you'll give 50% of your heaven, your next afterlife, to me, right? So I'm going to be supporting you in this world, and I'm going to get a lot of benefits. So you see clearly there, how could Zevulun give more than 20% of his income? He was going against the Torah. The Gemara says that Hillel's brother not, but throughout the history, there was this partnership of what? Yisachar and Zevulun. And people would give 50% of their money to their partner, that instead of them would 110% be in what? In Torah. And we gave a class about that really earlier this year, that you shouldn't be worried. If you're learning in Kollel, you're not going to sell half of your Olam Haba just because you're getting supported. Because the Orach Chaim says it's like light, like a candle. That person is going to get a lot of reward that's supporting you, like Zevulun, but he's not going to, when you come up in heaven, it's not going to be like they split your thing in half. So you don't need to be worried about that. And I just want to read for you what Rav Sternbach says. Rav Sternbach also vehemently, emphatically argues on the Sefer Hitarot HaTeshuvah, and he says that you should be aware that it's really, really so beautiful. He says that another idea. He says this mitzvah to be connected to God, is it only once a day? He says it's a constant mitzvah, right? If every second of the day you think about God and you love God and you want to be connected to Him, so he says SHIDUCH. He says that we say you shouldn't spend more than 20% of your assets for a mitzvah. There's a mitzvah, you do it and you're gone. But a mitzvah that you're investing in the whole future of your family, for them to be righteous and upstanding and Torah scholars like you, is not this thing of 20%. And he says that and Rav Sternbach here says that it wouldn't be. He also says a second idea. He says if you're not wealthy, let's say you don't have any money, right? And if you want to marry the daughter of Torah scholars, they say, how are you going to support my daughter? He says it would not be unethical. It wouldn't be a mistake to even go collect tzedakah, to fundraise, to invest in this. Not like the Sefer Hitarot HaTeshuvah, because he's saying, we have to understand that, especially today where there's so much assimilation, right? So many of the Jews are going down the drains. This shouldn't be thought as, and God bless my father's soul, whenever he would give a lot of his net assets to money, this is a secret he taught me. He said you shouldn't look at giving charity as just the extra credit or something you have to do. It's investment. And this is what Rav Sternbach says. He says, if you get the daughter of a Torah scholar, okay, there's no guarantee your children are going to be Torah scholars, but much higher probability. And since it's an investment for your eternity in this world and next world. Again, he says that since the mitzvah of connecting yourself to God, which on a practical basis can only be done by marrying into the family of Torah scholars, it's a constant mitzvah, so there's no limit of 20%. The Gemara is actually to be taken literal. If for some odd reason you this is what you want to do, go spend all your net worth to get the hand of the Torah scholar. Now, I forgot to read for you another Shulchan Aruch, which is very, very important, because if we look in the second chapter of the Shulchan Aruch, it says, this part of the class we want to talk about which attributes are wonderful in a woman and should cause you to go after her, and which attributes, which families have red flags that according to the Jewish law you should stay away with. The Gemara is very clear. It says if you see two families that are always bickering, suing each other, fighting against each other, right? They're always machloket. It said this is a bad sign. Because the same way they fight with their neighbors, they're in constant vigilant fighting with, they're going to fight with you and get a divorce from you. So it says people that are rebel rousers and always, the Gemara Shulchan Aruch says shehu ba'alat matzah ve'meriva, not eating matzah, but matzah ve'meriva is that they're problematic people. They're always, in a constant argument with their neighbors and their friends and family. You should stay away from such people if that's their habit. Also, a big red flag is because the Gemara in Yevamot says that the Jewish nation has 3 signs. There's a spiritual DNA. By looking at somebody, you could identify him as a Jew. You know how? We have 3 symbols. We're merciful, we're shameful, and what? Baishanim, Rachmanim, Gomlei Chasadim. We're kind to one another. We're selfless. We help one another. So this is not just some lofty like musar. It's a halacha. If you see a family, if you see people, whether male or female, that they have no shame, that they are very cruel, right? They have no mercy. The guy is like, he's above. Okay, again, if somebody got into a nasty fight once in his life and was cruel, or somebody once was shameful, that's not what we're saying. That this is part of his nature. He's shameless. He's cruel. He doesn't have mercy. It's a bad sign. This may be bogus Jews. Just like there's fake news, these people could actually be what? Bogus and fake Jews. So the Shulchan Aruch, it's a halacha. You should stay away from each other. Another type of person is somebody that everybody calls everybody mamzer. If he calls people bastard and harumzadeh, the Gemara in Kiddushin says at the end, kol posel bemumo posel. Why is he calling everybody and attacking people verbally, calling everybody a bastard, a mamzer? Because he himself is one. Because there's a concept of, since you're one, kol posel bemumo posel. So again, this is a fascinating thing a lot of people don't know. Somebody that is always cursing out other people and calling people mamzer, most likely he himself, chas v'shalom, is a mamzer. And it says, "Ve'im omer lahem shem avadim, choshishim lo shem ha'eved," or anything. If he calls people, "Oh, you're a abid, you're a servant," he himself could be not from the Jewish nation, from avadim, evet knani, right? From the lineage of servants. So those are big red flags. So let's review, and we'll end up with a very, very beautiful idea from Rabbi Avigdor Miller. To review, what do we want? Which attributes do we want to go after? Oh, this is very important. So there's amazing Jewish scholar, Rabbi Zakai. He brings from the Shalot Teshuvot, Shevet HaKahati, that let's not forget that there is a second element here. And that second element is midot tovot, good attributes, right? So just like Eliezer, when he went to find a wife for Yitzchak, he was the messenger of Abraham. What was he looking for? A selfless, kind person. So that's a beautiful thing. If you see that this girl or this man is very kind-hearted and is selfless, knows what kindness, that's a very noble thing that you should go after. Something else that I forgot to say, Rav Chaim Kanievsky, I saw a video, very beautiful video. Something else that is a very, very good signal that you should marry into a family is if, look at your future wife's brothers, your brother-in-laws. Because we learned this from the Torah. It says, Aharon married Elisheva, the Kohen Gadol married Elisheva, which was who? Elisheva was the sister of Nachshon. So what does the Torah need to tell us? It says that it's incumbent upon anybody that wants to marry into a family that what? They should look into the brother-in-laws. Why? Because in Farsi we say it, and Rav Chaim Kanievsky also said it. Actually, it was cute. They said, what if the girl has two brothers? One of them is like a bad person, is an ignorant person. One of them is a Talmid Chacham. So Rav Chaim said jokingly that one of your children is going to be come out Talmid Chacham. One of them is going to come out, God forbid, the other way. But I just tell you, Rav Chaim Kanievsky, I don't know if you know this, I was telling this to people, his uncle was the Chazon Ish, right? His mother was the sister of the Chazon Ish, and he came out pretty good. So since in the Torah we find this idea that people do take after their uncles, so you should be very vigilant to marry. Look into that. If her brothers are bad people, there's a high likelihood that your children would become like that. So to make a final summary, first of all, we hope everybody finds their most special soulmate, the one that's going to make them the most blissful and peaceful life. To review, people that we want to stay away from are people that are brazen, people that are selfish, people that are cruel, people that are merciless. The opposite, people that do have a lot of mercy, people that do have a lot of shame. Rav Chaim Kanievsky also brings down the people that are quiet, right? Rav Avigdor Miller also says this. It says very outgoing women, Rav Avigdor Miller says you should stay away with, because we know what happened to Dina. She was a little bit too outgoing. And the thing I also wanted to mention is that this halacha Rav Sternbach brings very clearly is not only for a man looking for a wife.